What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of the Wolverine Live Recruiting Show. I am your host, EJ Holland. I'm here to answer all of your Michigan recruiting questions. Before we do that, though, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos. And if you can't get enough Michigan recruiting, if you're hyped for the season, you're going to want to subscribe to thewolverine.com today. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at thewolverine.com. Get exclusive insider information on everything Michigan recruiting, the team, transfer portal, basketball, and so much more. Plus, you get to be part of a message board community with thousands and thousands of users. So sign up today. It's only $1 for 2 months. That'll get you through the first couple months of football season. So again, use that promo code UM1. All right, guys. So like I said, I'm here to answer all of your questions. We are limiting questions to 3 per user. If you want to ask a 4th question, or you just want to skip the line, since we had people here, super early in the afternoon, you can leave a super chat. That's the box with the $sign. That money goes directly to my travel budget, so I can continue to see top recruits around the country. I will be on the road this week. Big one, Carter Meadows versus Travis Johnson on Friday night in Washington, D.C. So I'm excited about that. I'll also see 4-star cornerback commit Andre Clark, and Ethan will be on the road seeing some in-state prospects in Michigan. So a lot of coverage on the Wolverine, a lot of coverage here on our YouTube channel. So again, if you want to skip the line or just want to donate, use that $ symbol and leave a super chat. And again, you get to skip the line or ask an extra question. Okay. If not, we will go in the order in which the questions came. And Zachary Pizot was here early. He says, what would be the biggest barrier to us landing Kemon Spell? Would he be deterred by having Savion only a year ahead? Yeah, so a lot of talk now about Michigan and Kemon Spell, 5-star running back out of Pennsylvania, who is committed to Penn State, but has been pretty open about listening to other schools, Michigan included. You see here, he's a 5-star top 10 player in the country, #1 overall running back nationally in the 2027 recruiting class. Can Michigan really land back-to-back #1 running backs in the country? I think it's difficult to do that at any position, but Tony Alford has a reputation for going after the best of the best. I wrote after the Savion Hyder commitment, hey, Tony Alford isn't just going to take this Savion Hyder dub, and that dog popping up is hilarious. But Tony Alford isn't going to take that dub and just go after some low-hanging fruit or anything like that. He's going, we got that dog out of the way. He's going to go after the best of the best in the country, and that includes Kemon Spell. So obviously he's an in-state kid for Penn State. He committed to them super early back in 2024. But again, he is open to listening to other schools. Hayes Fawcett actually put out a graphic that has the schools with the best chance to flip him, that Spell himself told Hayes. So I know it had Michigan on it, Notre Dame, USC, a few others. I think Tony Alford is an elite recruiter. And when Mike Hart departed and Tony Alford came in, I told you guys that Tony Alford was going to be a massive upgrade. And I think everybody was like, oh, EJ's just hating on Mike Hart. And it was, I guess, but at the end of the day, I said that for a reason. Tony Alford is an elite recruiter. You saw that in the Savion Hyder recruitment. You're seeing that right away in 2027. He's getting to work. And there you see the 6 schools. So it's Ohio State, Tennessee, USC, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Michigan. And yeah, Alford's going to put in work here. Spell's visiting for the game against Ohio State. So definitely one to watch. Again, I think it's a tall task, but Michigan's certainly in it. In terms of what would be the barrier, I think Savion, maybe a little bit, just because if you're Michigan, I know there's a ton of hype around Bryce Underwood, and I know Chip Lindsey's going to open up the offense, but if you continue to be a run-first program, if you continue to show that you can have a dynamic 1-2 punch this year in Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall, then that's an easy sell to Spell. Like, hey, you can be just as good or better with Savion Hyder. That's the best 1-2 punch you can have, back-to-back number one running backs. The biggest thing I would be concerned with is, does this turn into more of an NIL battle? If it does, will Michigan really invest in another running back a year after already investing? And it's not like Hyder's recruitment was an NIL war or anything like that, but Michigan was obviously very competitive from a business standpoint. They invested a lot in Savion Hyder. They made him the top overall target of the entire cycle. They would have to probably do something similar with Kemon Spell. So I don't know if they will do that or not. We'll see. I think those are maybe a couple of things, but I think they are hurdles that you can get past. I mean, Michigan obviously has plenty of backing. I think you could easily sell the offense if it's still run first, if Haynes and Marshall have a really good year. I think that's, and I think Savion would be okay with it too, man. Like, Savion's like the most chill guy ever. He doesn't care if he has to compete or whatever he has to do. So I think that one, again, is definitely one to watch moving forward. Zachary Pizzo says, what are the top offensive line targets in 27, and what are the current chances looking like with them? So 2027 offensive line targets, it's interesting because Michigan already has 2 offensive line commits, right? Tristan Dare and Louis Esposito. So how many more offensive linemen will Michigan really take? Will it be 1? Will it be 2? I can't really see them taking 5. I'm thinking it'll be more of a 3 to 4 offensive lineman class in 2027. The guy that comes to top of mind with limited spots is Jameer Henry. Would probably be the most feasible guy to land there out of Detroit King. He's an in-state top 300 kid. He's visited Michigan on multiple occasions. The Wolverines have the early lead on the on-3 recruiting prediction machine. He's part of the Sound Mind, Sound Body program, which has produced Michigan players like Bryce Underwood and Samaj Morgan and Will Johnson. So I think that Henry definitely is a guy to keep an eye on, but I don't know. I think offensive line is going to be, now you have 2 recruits with upside on board with Esposito and Dare. You can kind of be a little more selective with your remaining spots. So it'll be interesting to see what offensive linemen they bring in for visits this fall. Michelle Wallace says the flip targets in the 2026 class, Devon Benjamin and Dunnigan, which Michigan hasn't offered, but I don't believe so. They haven't offered James Dunnigan, the Kansas commit. Obviously, they have offered Devon Benjamin, top 100 corner who just committed to Oregon here recently. Michigan's going to stay in contact with him. I think Benjamin will be a tough flip, but obviously Lamar Morgan has a track record of being able to flip guys late. He did that with Shamari Earls and Jordan Young last cycle. Elijah Dotson was another flip. Jordan Deck was a flip. So obviously Lamar Morgan is capable of that, but I think Benjamin is going to be a tough one to get from Oregon, but we'll see. If you get him on campus for a game day visit, you never know what can happen. Customer service says, which of the elite 27 and 28 wide receivers do you feel the best about? In terms of the elite guys, I think there are 3 guys that, are obviously in Michigan's geographical footprint, which would be Quentin Burrell out of Chicago, Monsoon Sales out of Indiana, and Dakota Warren out of Michigan. So I think those are the elite guys that Michigan has the best chance with early on in 2027. I think 2028 is too far. Dakota Warren has several ties to Michigan. His coach, Rod Oden, is a former Wolverine. His cousin, Jacob Oden, who's Rod's son, is obviously on the Michigan roster. He has been to Michigan several times. He's also part of the Sound Mind, Sound Body program. So I think Michigan's in a good spot with him, but they will have to fend off Ohio State. They're in that top group for Monsoon Sales, who's probably my favorite receiver on Michigan's board. outside of Easton Royal, who is not. He released a visit schedule and Michigan wasn't on it, unfortunately. So I would say Monsoon Sales and Royal would be my two favorite receivers. Sales is just a freak athlete, really big, tall wideout with verified track times. I think, Alabama and a few others are going to be tough to beat there, but Michigan's certainly in the mix. Quinn Burrell, I saw him in 7-on-7, and, I like Warren and Sales better, but he's certainly one that's in that elite category in terms of being a top 75 type of guy, top 100 type of guy. And Michigan's, again, in that top group for him too. Customer service says, how does Donald Tabron compare to JJ McCarthy, Kyler Murray, and Bryce Underwood at this stage? I mean, Kyler is just an anomaly, right? Because he is just a little guy doing big things, man. I think that Kyler was a very special athlete, just being a true dual threat, a guy who kind of defied odds in terms of a height standpoint. I think Tabron, like Kyler, I guess, is very advanced mechanically. Kyler's father is an elite quarterback trainer, played the quarterback position himself at Texas A&M. So Tabron's received some of the best training possible. So in that aspect, I think from a mechanical standpoint, he's very far along. And so was JJ. Obviously, as a passer, he was, very ahead of the curve when it came to mechanics and throwing motion and footwork and things of that nature. JJ also had great training with Greg Holcomb. Bryce was far along from a mechanic standpoint as well, getting private quarterback training with Donovan Dooley, who actually serves as Tabron's quarterback trainer. So a lot of the, things that Bryce does in the pocket this season are probably things Tabron does too, because they work with the same quarterbacks coach. So from, just a mechanics, polished passer standpoint, he's very similar to all of them. He's definitely not the runner that Kyler was. He's not the runner that JJ was, Kyler being, just a dynamic, elusive runner. JJ being very crafty in and around the pocket. It has tremendous escapability. And not quite like Bryce either. Bryce is obviously a big physical specimen who can run you over, has good speed as well. I don't really know, what Tabron brings as a runner. He didn't run a ton last year. He's athletic around the pocket. He's certainly not a statue, but I don't know what he brings as an actual runner. I think we'll find out this year. I think physical development, a little bit like JJ in the sense that he's still on the thinner side and is going to need to add some weight. By this time, Bryce was, already very physically developed. Kyler's just, again, shorter type of guy. What is he, like 5'9", 5'10"? Tabron being a taller pocket passer from a frame standpoint, I would say at this stage, he's similar to what JJ was. I really like Tabron overall as a recruit. I think like Kyler, like JJ, like Bryce, he has an opportunity to be a 5-star quarterback. Michelle Wallace says key recruits in the 2027 class: Easton Royal, Monsoon Sales, Dakota Grant, Cole Lumphreys. So I think he's asking where Michigan stands with these guys. Obviously, I talked about a couple of them here earlier in Sales and Grant. In terms of Easton Royal, like I said, he left Michigan off of his visit schedule. I think he's going to be a really, really tough pull out of Louisiana. Colt Lumphreys, on 300 tight end out of New Jersey, actually has a connection with quarterback commit Peter Bork. The two worked out together at the Under Armour New Jersey camp, which I was at when I talked to Bork earlier. I think that's going to be one of the guys that he recruits. Colt Lumphreys was definitely fired up about the Bork commitment. Lumphreys is actually from the same school, the Lawrenceville school, that produced Michigan offensive line coach Grant Newsome. So a little bit of a tie there. He's already been to campus in the past. He's looking, or he is set to be at a game this fall as well. So I think Michigan is definitely high up there for Lumpreys. Customer service said, would the 5-star plus quarterback recruit EJ Holland be a dual threat or a pocket passer? Also, would he be an SMU, Notre Dame, or Michigan lean? I I don't run very fast, so I'd probably be a pocket passer. I can definitely jump a few fences, but not a great runner. In terms of where I would be leaning, whatever school pays me the most NIL money. Tyson Smith says, is Ohio State actually a threat to flip Carter Meadows like Steve Wiltfong said? No, I don't think so. I'm not really worried about Carter Meadows at all. I'm not really sure, if that was Steve speculating or if Ohio State is going to try to stay in contact, which they should. Any school, should try to stay in contact with those level of guys if they got them on campus for OVs. But I just don't think Carter's really open to other schools right now. He's fully locked in with Michigan. He picked Michigan for a reason. He really values what Michigan has to offer off the field in terms of academics and life after football. And that was very apparent. I mean, I spent time with Carter and his family at their house in DC last month or this month, I guess, really early this month. And just spending time with the family, they just seem like Michigan people. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned am I about Ohio State and Carter Meadows right now? 1. Tyson Smith says, what about Texas and Malachi Lee? I would be more concerned about Texas and Malachi Lee. I am interested to see if he actually makes it to Texas for a game day visit. They are still pushing hard. They are in contact. They were a finalist. Texas, at least during my time there, did a really good job of recruiting Polynesian players. They have invested in Hawaii in the past. I think that, that's certainly one to watch. I think the SEC allure for Lee was very real this summer before he ultimately sided with Michigan. It's absolutely critical for Michigan to keep Lee in the class. And I think that they'll do everything to keep Lee in the class. But it's certainly one that I'm not really writing off like I am with Meadows and Ohio State. Tyson Smith says, who wins between Tank and Jake Paul? Honestly, I'm more interested in who's on the undercard. Obviously, it's a farce of a fight with Jake weighing 200 pounds and still not being a real fighter, and Tank weighing 135 pounds. It's a stupid matchup, but I can't blame Tank for taking the paycheck. Though I do hope he fights Shakur Tiafimo at some point soon. Salty Rock 2 says, I'm a displaced corporate executive looking for a new business opportunity and in need of some direction. What would you recommend? Well, I have the perfect solution for you. My Perfect Franchise. You want to put your career into your own hands? Are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Or are you a displaced corporate executive like my guy here? Well, Andy Luedecke can help. Andy is a huge college sports fan and franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using his expertise, he helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Call Andy, put your life and career in your own hands. Best of all, his services are 100% free to use. So what do you have to lose? You can contact Andy at 404-973-9901, or you can email him at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. Today I went out and I got a pizza, and I was going to go to a local spot, but I said, you know what? Andy's probably helping so many Americans. I might as well get a franchise pizza. So I went to Papa John's, and you know what? You can't go wrong with Papa John's. You can't go wrong with Pizza Hut, Domino's. You can own a franchise pizza place, and you can get, I don't know how that would affect your profits, but you could eat unlimited pizza if you had a franchise. So who doesn't want unlimited pizza? That's why you should contact Andy today. All right, let's go ahead and go to Salty Rock 2. And he says, what targets does Michigan have on its board for defensive line and edge in 27? There aren't a lot of true defensive line targets early on the board. Joseph Buchanan is definitely one to watch out of McDonough in Maryland. Michigan's recruited out of that school, hasn't landed either of the guys they've recruited, Brandon Finney, Nick Abrams being the two here in recent cycles, but they're really doing their best with Buchanan. He recently named Michigan a top school. He's looking to make his first visit this fall. There's a few other more under the radar guys. Waylon Wooten out of Georgia has Michigan in his unofficial top 5. Mari Vickerson out of Texas, he visited this spring. Those guys I think are ranked as 3 stars right now. So I think defensive line targets usually emerge a little later. The edge board is definitely loaded, especially on the East Coast. You have Chris Whitehead, who's a top 100 prospect, #1 overall recruit in Virginia. Obviously, Michigan did a fantastic job of recruiting in the state of Virginia this cycle, so they'll look to do the same in 27, especially with Whitehead. The DMV, obviously, Michigan has pulled several edge recruits out of that region recently, from Devin Baxter to Dom Nichols to Carter Meadows and Tariq Boney. I mean, the DMV constantly puts out edge prospects on Michigan's board. That's no different. They have top 100 recruit Anthony Sweeney out of Good Counsel. Michigan's trying to get him on campus. James Pace, Rivals 300 edge out of DeMatha, is definitely one to watch. He just named Michigan in his top schools. A little closer to home, Ricardo Kitchen at Muskegon is an elite prospect, one of the critical in-state targets for next cycle. Obviously, the state of Michigan is loaded in 2027. So those are some of the guys that I can think of off the top of my head. Salty Rock says, how does 27 Michigan secondary recruiting look, and who are the targets involved? There are some really high-end targets. John Meredith definitely comes to mind, 5-star cornerback out of Euless Trinity in the Dallas area. Michigan had a lot of success in the state of Texas, specifically in Dallas this cycle. They'll look to do the same in 27. Meredith, one of the best corners, if not the best corner in the country. He's ranked #2, top 10 prospect overall. I think he should be #1. But yeah, I really like John Meredith. I saw him at Future 50. So Michigan working to get him on campus. Duvet Williams out of California, considered an early USC lean, but he visited Michigan for the first time this summer and is looking to get back for a game this fall. He runs in some of the same circles as the Sound Mind, Sound Body kid, so I think that'll help. He actually took part in the Sound Mind, Sound Body satellite camp that Michigan was at this summer. So Duvet Williams, definitely one to watch. Honor Favale Johnson out of California. He's one of the nation's top safeties. He's set to make his first visit to Michigan this fall. So those are some of the secondary targets that come to mind. I would say, I guess, thinking a little closer to home, Ace Alston. He's a Rivals 300 kid out of Ohio. He's already made it to Michigan a couple of times. And Gideon Gash is a kid in state to know. His older brother, Isaiah, obviously played for Michigan, made that key catch against Illinois a couple years back. So, he's a taller safety and is ranked fairly high. I believe he's a Rivals 300 kid. So those are some secondary guys that, again, top of mind. Tom says, do you cringe like we all do when Steve Wiltfong says infrastructure? I don't know. I haven't watched enough Wiltfong videos to hear him say that. Now I'm curious. I'm gonna have to go watch them and try to find him saying that word. To his defense, I guess. How does he say it? Infrastructure or something like that? My wife always makes fun of me, and this isn't even a common word, but I struggle to say the word labyrinth. I really struggle with that. So hey, I can't blame Wiltfong for struggling with a word. Tom says, if it were up to you, who would you recommend Michigan pursue as a flip this year? I mean, my top guy is Kari Adams, obviously. Notre Dame commit. I know, again, on social media, he's been pretty vocal about staying solid with Notre Dame. But like I said earlier, Lamar Morgan has a track record of flipping guys late, from Shamari Earls to Elijah Dotson to Jordan Young to Jordan Deck this cycle. Maybe you can get it done with Kari Adams, man. I mean, Kari's an elite corner, tall, long, amazing track times, checks all the boxes for me. I think Kari's a 5-star. He's right on the border of that top 40 prospect there on the industry rankings. So he would be at the very, very top of my flipboard or target list. I mean, I'd love to see Michigan flip Nick Abrams from Georgia as well, just because linebacker just seems so weird. I mean, I know they offered an Iowa commit today and like Fortba's still on the board, but it's just such an unexciting board. Like linebacker is, I don't know, man. But I'd definitely put Nick Abrams up there as well. Tom says, any news regarding Kannon Smith at USC? Who would want to be signing in a class with 7 other offensive line commitments? Yeah, man, USC, they've loaded up, right? They have like 30 commitments overall. Do they actually have 7 offensive line commits? I haven't counted, but yeah, I know they have like Brett Kolajay, Kenye Pepe. They have a few others. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do know he has ties to a couple of those USC commits. Like he was a youth football teammate of Brett Kolajay and Mark Bowman, the 5-star tight end. He did officially visit Michigan in, I think it was the first OV weekend. And I know I did an interview with him. He had a lot of positive things to say about Michigan, but I don't know. I mean, he committed to USC for a reason. Like I said, he has some ties there. We'll see. I know Michigan's been in contact. They're obviously going to take another offensive lineman this cycle. We'll see if they can convince Kannon Smith. There are a few others they're going to really evaluate this fall. Customer service says, I would like to start a burger franchise called Wolverine Burger with the slogan for the tough, but we'll give a soft front row show and not ban, opening on November 29th. Do you have anyone who can help start it? Like I said earlier, Andy Luedecke is always around, though I'm not sure Wolverine Burger is a franchise. I guess you're trying to start your own franchise to compete with McDonald's, but Andy Luedecke is your man for franchises. Wolverine Casual says, any concern on Alister Vallejo? He's drawing a lot of attention. Yeah, I mentioned this over at the Wolverine. Alabama was in contact this month, and Colorado is a school that's in contact as well. His mother actually went to Colorado, so that's an interesting tie. Ole Miss has continued to stay in contact with him as well. There are definitely a few others that are still in pursuit of him. Right now, not really concerned unless he pops up at some other campus. Miami actually offered him here recently too. So again, not really a ton of reason for concern. I just posted a Q&A with him here on our YouTube channel, which you can watch. But, he told me, hey, I can't stop other schools from really recruiting me. And, you never know what can happen. So it's always a smart business decision to at least respond. But, until he pops up at another campus, I'm not too concerned there. Ryan says, any concern about a Carter Meadows flip? Like I said earlier, my concern level is a 1 on a 1 to 10 scale. Wolverine Casual said, do you know the SEC linebacker flip target that Will Fong mentioned is? I know he mentioned a linebacker flip target and didn't give a name. I don't think he said he was an SEC commit. Maybe I'm wrong. But I really don't know who he's talking about. He did not tell me. So, obviously there are some flip targets on the board. I do think they'll keep in contact with Nick Abrams. They are keeping in contact with Caden Catchings, who's committed to Liberty. They just offered an Iowa commit today. So we'll see how the linebacker board turns out. Wolverine Casual says, which guys have a shot at rising into the top 100 during their senior years? Malachi Lee, I know, was on the border of top 100. He would definitely be one. Maybe Matt Ludwig. I know he's top 100 for Rivals, but don't know if he's top 100 in the industry. Maybe Travis Johnson, those are definitely some guys that come to mind. Dutchman says, might be a dumb question, but has Michigan reached out to Gatlin Bair at all? I really want that track speed. I don't think so. I don't know if Bair is, I'm assuming he's close to finishing his mission at this point. Obviously, he's free to sign with any school, but he committed and did his financial paperwork with Oregon. But I don't really think there's any, real reason to think that Michigan will get back in it with Bair. But I guess you never know. We have reached the 30-minute mark, which means rapid fire time. Wolverine Casual says, Donovan Edwards was a borderline 5-star that just never put it together in college. Do you think, barring injury, Hyder is a can't-miss prospect by comparison? I do have Savion Hyder graded higher than I did Donovan Edwards. I think he'll work out just fine. Michigander 1212 says, I like Mr. Garrison there. What's with the Carter Meadows to Ohio State rumors? Again, I'm not really sure. It's something Wolfong brought up on the national show, but again, concern level is a 1 right now. Wolverine Casual says, obviously they're all fast, but who do you think is the fastest among Shamari Earls, Kainoa Winston, and Savion Hyder? That would be a great race. I don't know, man. I'm going with my guy Shamari. Let's see. Wolverine Casual, this is his final question. Remember, you're limited to 3 questions. Does Michigan pull a 4-star linebacker in this class? I'm going to say no. Touchfan says, I see your tank shirt too. Who's winning between Canelo and Bud? That says, I hate Bud and I hate Canelo, so I'm not excited about the fight at all. Obviously, I'll watch it. I'll go with Canelo. Michelle Wallace says, the Michigan players that are coming in for the 2027 class, who do you think we should get? I'm not really sure what you're asking there, Michelle, in terms of the 27 class. I guess Michigan prospects, like the state of Michigan, the guys at the top of the board are Dakota Warren and Ricardo Kitchen. Those two, I think, are the must-get guys. Wolverine Casual, he already asked his 3 questions. Kinetic 615 says, is anything real to the Kemon Spell flip talk, or is it all just smoke and rumors? No, Michigan's definitely trying, and he already has a visit set for the fall. Kinetic 615 says, who do you think has a better first year as a starting quarterback, Bryce with the Wolverines or JJ with the Vikings? That's a good question. I think Bryce will have a good year. Obviously, I'm rooting hard for JJ since I was so close to him, so give me JJ. Ralph Wolf says, we know you go to a ton of high school games. What's the last college game you attended as a fan? I've never been to a college game as a fan. The last non-Michigan game I attended was I worked the Cotton Bowl as like a intern for the Cotton Bowl when Texas, I don't even remember who played in that one, except I remember Texas A&M was in it because I got to watch Johnny Football, but I've never been to a college football game as a fan. Kinetic 615 says, who is your favorite evolution? Team Flareon. Flareon's probably like the 3rd best. Umbreon is definitely 1, and Glaceon would probably be 2, Sylveon 3, Flareon 4, something like that. Struggle Streaming BK says, with 2 linemen in the fold for 27, how many offensive linemen do you think Michigan is taking in 27? Give me the one name that you think Michigan will get. I kind of talked about that earlier. I think they'll only take 1 or 2 more. I mean, if I were to, best guess it would be Jameer Henry being an in-state prospect. I think Wolverine Casual passed his amount, but we'll give him a bonus question, man. He's already asked like 3 others. Who are some 26 recruits we can watch this weekend on TV or somewhere that you and Ethan will cover? I am not sure on TV. I haven't looked at the schedule. I will see Andre Clark on Thursday, Carter Meadows and Travis Johnson on Friday. Ethan will see Ricardo Kitchen Thursday. And then on Friday, he'll see Donald Tabron. And on Saturday, he'll be at the Michigan game. Let's see. Struggle Streaming BK says, EJ, I told you years ago Tank is never going to fight Tiafimo or Shakur, and I stand by it. His whole career is fabricated. Lies. Jason Wilbur says, if we miss on linebacker this cycle, it'll be critical in 27. Who are some legitimate targets for us? There really haven't been a lot of 20s or many. Maybe, I don't know. There's only been a couple of like 27 linebackers that have visited or have set visits. Brandon Lockley out of St. Joe Prep is one that comes to mind that has a fall visit scheduled. Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't have a lot of linebackers on the top of my head. It's time for Brian Jean Mary to step up. Terrence says, I know this isn't a recruiting question, but do you have any idea why Bryce's jersey isn't on sale yet? Maybe they're sold out. I don't know. I would assume that it is. Caleb Conley says, what's the biggest 2027 flip opportunity for Michigan? There haven't been a lot of 2027 commits across the board. Well, obviously, Kemon Spell is the hot name right now, 5-star running back committed to Penn State. Chandler Brown says, what happened with CJ Sadler, moving parts? Scoop517 says, are you going to the Oscar Smith versus Gonzaga game? Of course. There's nowhere I'd rather be. If you offered me tickets to Michigan or Ohio State or Gonzaga versus Oscar Smith, though I'm obviously getting in for free with my media pass, I would take Oscar Smith versus Gonzaga. That is the game that I've had circled on my calendar. Like you guys probably have games circled on your calendar for college football. I have games circled on my calendar for high school football, and Oscar Smith Gonzaga is number one on my list, so I will be there. Struggle Streaming BK says, any hope of Michigan landing Kemon Spell in 27? I wouldn't be overly optimistic, but there's a chance. Customer service says, who is faster, Bryce or JJ? I don't know who would win, like in a 40. It would be pretty tough. Maybe JJ. Let's see. Jake Nowitzki with the last question, not spelled like Dirk Nowitzki. What recruit are you most excited to see this year? Michigan commit or not? Well, Savion, so he can put on his show. I love watching running backs, and I loved watching Savion last year, especially when he wasn't dinged up in the playoffs. I saw him in the regular season, and it was fantastic. So Savion, just because I know he's going to perform. The guy I'm probably the most interested in seeing is Carter Meadows, because when I saw him last year, you could see the ability, but the production wasn't there. He only had 2 sacks as a junior. How will he perform against a powerhouse like Oscar Smith this weekend? Will he put up the numbers of a 5-star this year? Really, really excited to see Carter. Caleb Conley says, what's the best uncommitted receiver in 26 that Michigan has a chance to get? They're not really going after, receivers right now. I mean, I would probably say, if it were me, I'd take a flyer on Samson Gash, being a in-state kid, his older brother having played at Michigan, his younger brother being a top 300 recruit in 27. You can flip him from Michigan State. Struggle Streaming with BK says Ahmad Hudson out of Louisiana. How much NIL are we going to have to pony up? I don't even think Michigan's really in that. Mostly Noble says, how's a guy with 2 sacks a 5-star commit? Because you're thinking about projection long-term. Carter has always split between football and basketball. He's never fully focused on being a football guy. He's always dropped weight for basketball. He gets doubled a lot. He's a guy that you're thinking, what can he become? So Carter's a guy that might not play. It probably won't play his first year, might not play his second year. He's going to be a guy that comes along late and really, if he puts it all together, he can be a 5-star, but he still has to put it together. All the measurables are there. I mean, he's 6'6", he's 230. His length is insane. There are not many guys that are Carter's height that move the way he does. So when you look at what Carter can become, he screams 5-star. But again, he has to put it all together. D-Core Millen says, do you think Jaden Davis will eventually enter the portal? Probably. Michelle Wallace says, $199. Thanks. So appreciate you, Michelle Wallace. No, mostly noble. I am not describing Amarion Walker. I ranked Amarion Walker a 3-star. This man was afraid to get hit. He could not run a route to save his life. He projected better at corner, but it was afraid to hit anybody. No on Amarion Walker. Jake Nowitzki says, what's the difference between Carter Meadows and Luedecke from the 24 class? I think the biggest difference is Carter is more athletic and fluid than Lugard was. Obviously, Lugard had the same height, very similar length, but I think the way Carter moves, the quickness he has at that side, the bend, just the loose hips, to be a prolific edge, you have to be able to really bend. Carter is definitely that. Philly Domside Dude 0007 says, what can Jonathan Brown become? A serviceable number 2 back down the line. All right, guys, that's my time for today. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos. Also, subscribe to thewolverine.com. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months. Get exclusive recruiting information over at the Wolverine, on top of excellent team coverage as we get ready to kick off the season. So don't miss out on that. And we have a last-minute buzzer beater super chat from Funky Bunch 3. We appreciate you. He says, who's the best 2027 recruit that Michigan can land? The 5-star level prospects that they're trying to land, Kemon Spell, who we've talked about endlessly on this show, 5-star running back committed to Penn State. He's going to visit Michigan in November. He listed Michigan as a school that can flip him. He talked to our Ethan McDowell over the weekend. Gave great reviews of Michigan and Tony Alford. So he's one. John Meredith, 5-star cornerback out of Euless Trinity. He's at the top of the DB board early on, arguably the number 1 cornerback in the country. Those are a couple of big-time names. Wide receiver will be very critical. Dakota Grant, Monsoon Sales, those are definitely the guys to know. All right, guys, I will be back next week.